What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all well, and welcome back to Dragon Age Origins. So this should be a cool little episode that I have for you guys today. We have finally made it to home camp, so we got a lot of NPCs to talk to and learn about. We're just gonna make our way around here and talk to everybody. Now, the first person I recommend talking to are these two little menaces right here.
It's good to see you, my timely rescuer. Bodahn Sandal at your service once again. I saw your camp and remember the kind offer that you made the last time we met. And is there anywhere safer for a poor merchant and his son to sleep? I think not. I'm perfectly willing to offer you a fine discount for the inconvenience of our presence. How does that sound? Good? Yes?
That sounds like an incredible fucking deal, actually. These two are the reason we did the money-making method as early as we did, literally for this right here. You're free to stay, just mind yourselves.
Wonderful. Thank the gentleman, won't you, boy?
Thank you, sir.
We won't be a bother to you and
Good
your
lad, Sandal.
companions, I assure you. If you should need enchantments, simply talk to my boy. Otherwise, come speak with me.
Alright, so first things first.
Hello.
The boy's a bit simple, but he's rather good with enchantments. One of those tranquil fellas actually called him a... what was it now?
Savant.
A savant.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea such a thing existed.
Sandal is the OG runesmither. He's really good at what he does. What enchantments does he do?
He can fold lyrium into almost any weapon or piece of armor, though naturally some of the more extravagant materials will take more lyrium than others. It's a process that some of the master smiths back in Orzammar will perform, but my boy here is just as adept at it. Isn't that right, boy?
Enchantment!
And there you have it.
Sandal is actually a really cool character, and he's recurring. So we don't want any enchantment done because we have nothing to put runes into yet, but we are going to say, I'd like to see what other goods you have.
Oh, certainly, I can do that for you. Just come with me.
Righto. Now we got a lot of cool things in here. We are going to start with the potions since they're right here. Here's Mabari Crunch for Duke, so I guess we'll take Duke out for another run. Right, weapon-wise, there's a lot of cool stuff here. So, the Vishal, I never actually used this. It doesn't seem, again, it's an axe, but you can dual wield these if you really want to. Basically, the thing to remember is whatever you buy this time in the party, like the very first time, it's gonna restock when you leave. So if you want something now, get it, and then when you come back a second time, it'll all be restocked. So this is 520, that has 1 spell power, 10 nature damage, and 5 nature resistance. The piece of wood we got has 1 con and 10 nature resistance. So this does boost the spell power a little bit, so we'll go ahead and buy that. I did also notice, by the way, that I found this stuff right here. I found this early, and I made such a big deal out of the fact that I found it in the tutorial, and then I did not equip it to Morrigan the entire time I've had it. So, our early game buff there meant absolutely nothing. Oh, we're not going to buy the Vishal. So here's the rest of our Blood Dragon set, which of course we're going to buy. We definitely want the Blood Dragon set. We'll put that on Alistair as soon as he's capable of equipping it. We'll go ahead and buy that up. Blood Dragon is one of my favorite armor sets in BioWare history, honestly. It just looks so cool. They even ported it into Mass Effect, which is also cool. It kind of sucks in Mass Effect, unfortunately, but it's still cool nonetheless. Right, so you need 18 strength for that. The Proven Helm, that's actually from the Dwarven Nations. I'd be interested to see how they got that. Some gloves from Morrigan. 5% critical backstab damage sounds incredible for us, but we do have to take an armor penalty. Especially plus that has +1 armor and 3 defense. I don't think it's going to be worth it. I'm going to keep the mods things up there, I guess. Bod's dancing shoes, of course, reduces hostility. We're gonna stack that on somebody too. Maybe Morrigan. Maybe we'll stack that on Morrigan. Make sure just nobody cares about her at all. I'm not sure if Alistair can use that. I'd have to cross-reference that. We got a little leash for Duke, and buy that. Now this is the important part. This is the juicy screen right here. So we have the Spellwood. This is 5 willpower, 8 health regeneration while exploring, 30 spell resistance, 10% chance to dodge attacks, and a chance to avoid missile attacks. You absolutely want that, and you can get 2 of them if you do my money method. So 1 for us and 1 for our tank is typically where I would do that. This is +2 willpower. It's not super important, but we'll go ahead and grab it. We have a Dalish Hunter Belt, which is stamina regen in combat. Not going to be as good as the skillful maneuvering, but if you haven't done the DLCs yet and you don't have the skillful maneuvering, I do recommend picking this up. We will probably grab it for Alistair regardless, but it's good for your main character if you don't have an alternative. Increased monetary gain, we don't need that because we have the good old method. I don't know what I was about to say there. And then we just have fire damage and cold damage. We will grab cold damage because we like to use Winter's Grasp on Morrigan. Fire damage, so, you know. Another important thing to pick up here is going to be the Tome of Physical Technique. This is a manuscript of physical arts, scribed by a master and rarely seen outside of the most prestigious militias and guilds. Careful study grants the reader access to additional rogue or warrior talents. Restriction, warrior or rogue. And then Tome of Arcane Technique, which is basically exactly the same, but it's for a mage. Very important. The next most important thing here is going to be the runes. I told you earlier to make sure you grab whatever runes you can whenever you can. Well, here is a whole bunch of them. And of course, they respawn. So all these master runes, they will all respawn the next time we're in camp. So you got to grab them now. Journeyman and Master, I would recommend just grabbing instantly. We do seem like we're going to struggle on space here. We don't need the toxin extract anymore, so that can go. Dump the fire crystals. Right, so we need the Grandmaster Slow rune. And we'll grab the Journeyman Dwemer rune. And that'll be it for now. We can make a selling run here. Get rid of these. The longbow I don't think is going to be as good as the Grey Warden bow, but I would have to cross-reference check that. And then some of this other stuff we'll be getting rid of when we equip it to our characters. So let's go ahead and do that right now, actually. We do have a codex for next episode too. Let's equip the party. So, Alistair, on the bat, do we have anything better for you? I doubt it. I doubt you can equip any of this good stuff yet. Spellwood. Do we want to give him Spellwood now and I'll pick up the secondary? What do I have on right now? 2 willpower. Yeah, we're going to equip this for us right now. And then we'll give him the Parval and Willstone. You can take the Dalish Hunter Belt too. It's getting a pretty good loadout for Alistair at this point. I don't believe you probably have anything. Yeah, see, that's not gonna compete with the Warden armor we got in the mod. Morrigan, however, she should have all kinds of things we can put on her. We are gonna uglify her a little bit, unfortunately, but 6 defense, this reduced hostility is just flat better. Spirit Hands, of course, for the spirit damage. And then if we go all the way down to the bottom, Vestments of the Seer. That's 9 willpower, 6 magic, 10 armor, and 12 spell resistance. It is just very ugly, but the buff is huge, so we're going to have to go ahead and do that regardless. You can have the Hailstone, of course, you need that. And finally, we will equip the staff that we got at the very start of the game. Let's compare these. So we have spell power 4 on each, range 54 on each, armor pen 29 on each, damage 520 on each. So basically it just comes down to if we want the nature resistance and the spell power or the constitution. And I think we want spell power. That's a flat buff to all our spells, so we will actually not be using the piece of wood that we found so long ago. That's quite tragic, actually. Okay, that's good for Morrigan for now. Leliana, let's see. But you have the bow. Let's just give her... We'll give her a melee setup just to be safe. She's not going to use it, but we'll give it to her. Right, we're not going to give you the Canary things. I think... Okay, what do you have? You have a Worsted and Braid. Black Mail Talk is, of course, better. 6 attack, 6 armor. Absolutely be sending that on. 4 damage versus Beast versus the 2 decks. We'll take the 2 decks. Now you got the red war paint. Looking clean. Oh, Sten. This is where we're going to get a lot of these things out of our inventory. So, Greatsword is 1320, sorry. This is 1210. I think we'll go with the Greatsword. We'll give him the Canary hat. That's 10 mental resistance. It works pretty good for him. It'll help us, help him not get stunned and staggered by spells and things like that. Heavy chainmail steel. Heavy chainmail steel. And somewhere I believe, yes, I did get the heavy chainmail steel. Now Sten's looking like a savage. Go here, we have nothing that he can equip. Right, that's Sten. I believe that's it. Right. So now our party is fully geared up. Which means all the leftovers can be sold safely to Bodahn Sandal, but I'll probably do that off camera. We got people to talk to, things to learn about our companions.
What do you wish of me?
I'd like to ask you something.
If you must.
How did you become a shape changer?
I was not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend.
Your mother has been doing this for a long time then?
Changing her form, certainly. Devouring lost children, I cannot say. She has not done it in my experience, though in truth my lifespan is but a fraction of her own. Why do you ask? Is there something specific you wish to know?
Can you change into other human forms as well?
The form of an animal is different from my own. One may study the creature, learn to move as it does, think as it does. In time, this allows one to become as it is. I gain nothing by studying another human. I already am the same as they are. I learn nothing. So the answer is no, my human form is the only one I possess.
Can anyone become a shape changer?
Anyone with sufficient will, but the act of transformation is a magical one. 'Tis a spell and thus requires a mage's talents. If you had a notion to learn such a skill for yourself, sadly, you must remain disappointed.
I would prefer not to turn into a spider or anything like that, actually. Do you spend a lot of time as an animal?
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed. But my life is as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary.
It does sound quite romantic. Walking through the woods as a wolf, flying through the sky as a bird. It would be an experience I would like to have at least once, I suppose. And what do other animals think of you when you're changed?
They do not shy away from me. To their senses, I believe I seem like any other of their species. As to what they think, I truly cannot say. Just as I am still human, no matter my form, they are still animals. Thus they cannot speak, even were I to ask.
I've never heard of magic like that before.
No? 'Tis not unheard of in the remote corners of the world. There are traditions of magic outside of the circle of magi, despite what those mages would have you believe. Some of these traditions are old, indeed, passed down as carefully guarded lore from one generation to the next. The zealots of the chantry would uproot all such practitioners if they could. But as luck have it, some still exist. My mother is such a one.
Now, for as much as I approve of the Chantry and the Templars, when it is done correctly, when the circle is handled correctly, and the Templars' grip isn't too tight, and they're allowed to come and go after they graduate, I think the circle is a good thing. However, I also like traditions. No, blood magic is a whole other story. Blood magic should be outlawed, blood mages should be dealt with. That's fine, that power comes directly from demons, it's dangerous, get rid of it. But shape changing and traditional magic like this, I think there is a place for that. I think that's a good thing that is maintained, at least in the far corners. Who are you to kick someone's door down and take away their traditions, you know? By practitioners, you mean apostates, don't you?
Not all apostates use the forbidden blood arts. Maleficarum do, but to condemn all who do not fall under the circle's thrall for the sake of what might be is a dangerous path to walk. There are those who look on the word apostate as meaning freedom.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
I think your abilities sound quite useful.
Oh, you're simply full of surprises, little man, aren't you? But enough of such talk, let us proceed lest the dust gather on us.
He has an interesting attitude. The little man is crazy. And go ahead and talk to her again.
What do you wish of me?
I'd like to ask you something.
If you must.
Did you grow up in the Kakari wilds?
Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I?
You can probe me anytime.
Beg pardon then while I jump for joy. What is it you asked? If I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness.
And you remained unnoticed?
For the most part. Flemeth taught me well. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
Very daring, that sounds like you.
Equal parts daring and foolhardy, perhaps. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped, and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
Naturally. Like all those social experiments. That was quick thinking.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling.
You see, and that depends on the quality of the man.
Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
Were you upset by all the bad touching?
At least with that sort of touching, I would have been able to intuit the intent with far greater ease. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
Yet here you are.
Yes, here I am. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
Right, I'm gonna try and limit the conversations a little bit. We'll do like a little bit of each one every time we come back. That seems like it'll be a good shout here. Let's talk to Sten.
Why are we stopping?
I think we should talk for a moment.
There are Darkspawn to be fought. Is this delay needful?
I need to know if I can trust you at my back.
I am Kunari. I have given my word to aid you. We are not people of idle promises.
Man, I love Sten. So as you talk to Sten, as you talk to each of these companions, you're going to get a little bit on their personalities. You can clearly already see that Morrigan is a manipulator. It's plain to see. She has a big, tough girl front, but she's a manipulator, and on the inside, she's very insecure. You can tell just by talking to her. Sten, on the other hand, he is a harsh, firm individual. He is very stoic and to the point. He does not suffer nonsense or fools. He will answer honest and direct, always. I've never seen a Kunari before. Tell me about your people.
No.
As I was saying. No? Why not?
People are not simple. They cannot be summarized for easy reference in the manner of, the elves are a lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty.
That's crazy. The elves are lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty. He's referring to the city elves. You said you were in the army.
I am.
Have you ever fought in war?
I have always fought in war, human.
What do you mean by that?
My people have been at war since the moment we set foot in the Northern Islands.
So the Kunari don't come from the islands?
We do now.
Where did you come from before?
Somewhere else.
Can you be more specific?
No. I was born in Saharan. Of the land we came from, I know nothing, not even its name. I do not see how this matters. Seheron and Parvolan are distant. Ferelden and the Darkspawn are immediate.
He's a very practical man. Are you alright? You were in that cage for weeks.
You are concerned. No need. I am fit enough to fight.
We should get moving.
As you wish.
Now we are gonna have to slowly but surely drag Sten out of his shell a little. He'll be responding to our actions and things as we go on. Okay, Alistair.
What do you need?
Do you want to talk about Duncan?
You don't have to do that. I know you didn't know him as long as I did.
He was like a father to you. I understand.
I should have handled it better. Duncan warned me right from the beginning that this could happen. Any of us could die in battle. I shouldn't have lost it, not when so much is riding on us, not with the Blight and everything. I'm sorry.
There's no need to apologize.
I'd like to have a proper funeral for him. Maybe once this is all done, if we're still alive. I don't think he had any family to speak of.
He had you.
I suppose he did. It probably sounds stupid, but part of me wishes I was with him, in the battle. I feel like I abandoned him.
No, I understand completely. Especially given what happened with my father. Sometimes I wish I was there with them too.
Of course. I'd be dead then, wouldn't I? It's not like that would make him happier. I think he came from High Ever, or so he said. Maybe I'll go up there sometime. See about putting up something in his honor. I don't know. Have you had someone close to you die? Not that I mean to pry, I'm just...
My entire family was murdered just recently.
Oh, of course. How stupid of me to forget. Here I am going on and on about Duncan, and you... I am so sorry. Thank you. Really, I mean it. It was good to talk about it, at least a little.
Maybe I'll go to High Ever with you when you go.
I'd like that. So would he, I think.
I think so too.
What do you need?
I'd like to ask you something.
Ask away.
Tell me about the Grey Wardens.
Such as they are.
Where are the nearest Grey Wardens from here?
That's a good question. There's plenty in Orlais, but who knows where they might be found. And the nearest Orlesian city is weeks away. If we go north and cross the sea, there's bound to be some in the Free Marches. Again, however, I just don't know where. I don't know anything about Grey Wardens in other lands.
Is there a headquarters somewhere?
Here in Ferelden, there's our compound in Denerim at the palace, but that's it. Loghain will have control over that and be watching it, no doubt. Beyond that, the only place I know of is Weishaupt Fortress. That's the headquarters of all Grey Wardens in the Anderfells, 1,000 miles from here. But I've no idea how to even contact them. So unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, I suppose the answer is no. There's nowhere for us to go.
So what happens now that there's just two of us?
I imagine that eventually the Grey Wardens outside of Ferelden will wonder what's happened. Why there's no contact from Duncan or someone. They'll send someone eventually. Though who knows what Loghain's people in Denerim will tell them. Maybe they won't send anyone. We could try to contact them. But that would mean leaving Ferelden, and even if we did, they couldn't come back with us in time to stop the Blight. So that means whatever happens, it's up to us.
Well, based on Loghain's actions so far, I suspect he'd slash their throats in their sleep at dinner. We need to start rebuilding the Order.
I mean, eventually we would have to use the joining to make more Grey Wardens, right? But I don't know how to do the joining, or what's involved. I know it involves lyrium and some other magic, and that it's really difficult to prepare, but that's it. Unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we better get used to the idea that there might only be two of us for now. Until more come from elsewhere.
What would happen if we just left?
Just left? You mean just left Ferelden? I don't know. If there's an archdemon, however, we're supposed to be the only ones who can defeat it. And that means the Blight would grow unchecked. Eventually, other Grey Wardens in Orlais and other lands would hear about it, and they would come to fight it, but they wouldn't come in time to save Ferelden. There's no way. I'm not going anywhere.
And neither am I. That was never an option. Interesting that it seems like Alistair isn't 100% sure on why Wardens are the only ones that can defeat it too. He said supposed to be, not as a matter of fact, but as what he believes.
About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. What do you need?
I'd like to ask you something.
Ask away.
So how did you become a Grey Warden?
Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out. You haven't forgotten already, have you?
I mean before that.
Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills.
What skills might those be?
Well, it wasn't an easy life, you know. I don't know whether or not you've noticed, but I'm not exactly the Chantry type. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky.
Yeah, I imagine she was very upset about that. Why did the Glen Cleric... Sounds so backhanded. Why did the Glen Cleric want to keep you? We're actually gonna say, you think this is better than being a Templar?
Oh, I suppose the Chantry life is good enough for some. Here, we have the chance to fight against the Blight. To actually do some good instead of sitting in
That's
a
true.
temple somewhere. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I wouldn't have.
There isn't much of a higher calling than being a warden. He was a good man.
He was. A good man who didn't deserve his fate. That much I'm sure of. Come on, let's go. I think I'm done talking.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's still pretty fresh for him, right? He just got off the road.
Yes?
I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
This vision of yours.
I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell, and the darkness drew me in.
You dreamed of the Blight?
I suppose I did. That was what the darkness was, no? When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rosebush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith.
She seems very stern in her faith. And this made you want to help me?
In my dream, I fell, or maybe I jumped. I'd do anything to stop the Blight. I know that we can do it. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the Blight devours everything?
I suppose I couldn't sit by either.
That is why you're a Grey Warden. Come, there's a Blight to stop.
Indeed. And talk to Leliana one more time.
Yes?
I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
What was life like in the Chantry Cloister?
Quiet. It was a life suited for contemplation. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace. And in that stillness, I could hear the Maker. But it was not perfect. Some of my Chantry fellows were condescending. That is the nature of religious folk, I suppose.
Yes, they tend to be self-righteous.
When I talked about my beliefs, that the Maker reveals himself in the beauty of his world, they treated me with disdain. They want to believe that he's gone, so that when he turns his gaze on them, it means they are special, chosen. He cannot possibly have love for all, the sick and the weary, the beggars and the fools.
I think faith is a very personal matter, and people that look down upon people for the way that they experience that are fools. I don't think it's anybody else's business. I prefer your ideas to the ideas of the Chantry.
Thank you. Maybe I am wrong. But it is the Maker's place to decide if I am worthy, not men.
Indeed.
Not the Chantry. But there is work to be done, and I have talked enough for now.
There is, in fact, work to be done. Now, let's see who's over here. This is Levi Dryden.
You're a hard man to find. Where are my manners? The name is Levi Dryden. Did Duncan ever mention me? Levy of the Coins? Levy the Trader?
I'm Apparition. I've never heard of you.
Really? He never told you of old Levy? We've known each other for years. But here I am carrying on while you have a blight to stop. Don't want to waste your time. But you see, Duncan promised that together we'd look into something important for the Wardens. And for me. But poor Duncan's... well, no more. A tragedy it is, at that. But I know he would want his work carried on. His pledge fulfilled.
If Duncan made a promise, I am very interested in honoring that. What promise did Duncan make to you?
Well, as you know, my family's name is mud around noble circles. My great-great-grandmother, Sophia Dryden, was the last Warden commander of Ferelden back when the Wardens were known as freeloaders. So King Arland banished the Wardens, and he took House Dryden's land and titles.
What happened next?
Hard to say. After King Arland died, there was a civil war, loads worse than this one, and our family was on the run, hunted by enemies, with nary a friend in the world. But Drydens are tough. We rebuilt, became merchants, and we never lost our pride.
And I'm guessing this will be why the Wardens were kicked out of Ferelden. This little civil war rebellion that he's referring to. I'm surprised you kept your name.
Our family's only crime was guarding the kingdom against the Blight. We're not ashamed of that.
Good man. So what favor did you ask of Duncan?
I asked for the truth. My family reveres Sophia Dryden. We know she died at the old Grey Warden base, Soldier's Peak. We want evidence to clear her name. It won't restore our land or our titles, but it'll restore our honor.
I've never even heard of Soldier's Peak.
Well, no one's been to Soldier's Peak since Arland's days. At least none that's come back. I spent years mapping the maze of tunnels to the peak, and I found the way a few years back. So I went to Duncan, I did, and I said that he could reclaim the old base and my family could have its honor.
Why didn't Duncan help you?
Darkspawn surfaced in southern Ferelden, and Duncan got plenty busy recruiting new Wardens and meeting with good King Caelan. Duncan said he would help after the Battle of Ostagar. Said there might be useful things at the peak, but he never had the chance.
How would reclaiming the peak help the Wardens?
Soldier's Peak is strategic and symbolic importance. Duncan said that it would be worth it right there. He also hoped to recover lost Warden history and perhaps a few old relics. No one knows what's up there now.
Your family's faith will be rewarded. I will help you.
1,000 blessings upon you, Warden. I'll mark down the location on your map. When you arrive, we'll pick our way through the tunnels together.
Absolutely. I am very invested in keeping Duncan's final promise. There's no way we couldn't, right? Duncan was an honorable man. We're not going to stain that. We're going to uphold that. Let's see what that dog's going on with.
Oh, why, you little...
Are you harassing my dog?
Me? Harassing your dog? I should say it's the other way round. Your furry friend here took offence at me getting near his food. He snapped at me, look.
Well, still. You can't... Well, he is a war dog. Can't pick at a dog's food like that. There's hardly any blood drawn. Still, he shouldn't have. Apologize, boy.
Sometimes I forget that he's a war dog. That'll teach me.
No harm done, right?
I once heard a really old legend about how the Hound warriors in the days of the old tribes would feed their Mabari the flesh of the vanquished. Well, that's what I heard anyway. It would sometimes be human flesh. Oh, like you can tell the difference. For all you know, maybe you've already been fed something. Someone.
You telling my dog horror stories? It's crazy. Don't listen to Alistair. He's full of rubbish.
Hey!
Ugh, look at what your fool dog placed in my pack. A putrid, half-eaten hare is not something a woman wants to find in her unmentionables.
He's bringing gifts. It's the thought that counts. He means well.
The dirty mongrel can have this back. There. And tell him not to do it again.
It was a gift. You can't just throw it away like that.
I just did. I don't want it, you worthless fur bag.
Is she gonna fold? I think you hurt his feelings.
Oh, he's just trying to be manipulative, I can tell. I do it too.
She does. She does know what she's talking about when it comes to being manipulative. Alright, Ace. I think we got a decent gist of everything. You see that Leliana is like the faithful shy girl, essentially. She's here to do the right thing. She means well. She is probably the most moral of our companions that we've gotten so far. Alistair is the naive young knight that was supposed to be a Templar and is now a Warden that's kind of out of his depth. That's why he deferred to us for us to lead. Then we already got Sten and Morrigan. One thing we are going to do, I recall, is, if I can remember how to do it, that was... maybe that isn't. No, I don't want to do that. There it is. Now it is about time we decide on a specialization. So, Assassin, specialization bonus, plus 2 dexterity, 2.5 crit chance. The assassin finds any notion of fairness a quaint ideal that has no place in combat. Poisons are their weapon of choice, as are crippling strikes that inflict persistent wounds on their foes. As killers, assassins are a marvel of stealth and efficiency. We have Bard. Their bonuses is 2 willpower and 1 cunning. Bards follow an Orlesian tradition, acting as assassins, spies, saboteurs, and following the other secretive pursuits in the constant and sometimes petty struggles between nobles. Having taken the minstrel's art to new levels, bards are skilled performers and master manipulators. Bards can inspire their allies or dishearten their foes through song and tale. Ranger, they get +1 constitution and 5 nature resistance. Rangers have an affinity for open country and wilderness, but as independent scouts and militia, they are opportunists, not stewards of nature. They exploit every advantage of their environment, and can lure wild beasts to attack their foes. Then we have Duelist. Specialization bonuses 2 dex and 1 damage per hit. Duelists are deadly combatants who prefer to fight in light armors and strike with light but precise attacks. Experienced duelists have preternatural reflexes that allow them to evade their opponent's clumsy blows, as well as strike remarkable precision. So, off rip, we are going to go with Assassin. We are eventually going to have 2 of these, and I will likely go Bard next for the party buff, since we are the party rogue. But first things first, I want Assassin. That's where we're going to go first. And I believe, if we go to our talents, we have a new tree now. So we have Mark of Death. The Assassin marks a target, revealing weaknesses that others can exploit. All attacks against a marked target deal additional damage, which is huge. Mark of Death is giant. This is Exploit Weakness, which is a passive. A keen eye and a killer instinct helps the assassin exploit a target's weak points. During a successful backstab attack, the assassin gains additional damage based on cunning, which is also huge since we are going to be buffing our cunning up. Lacerate. This is also a passive. Whenever a backstab deals enough damage, the assassin's foe is riddled with bleeding wounds that inflict additional damage for a short time, stacking damage on damage. And then the next passive is Feast of the Fallen. The assassin thrives on the moment of death. Stamina is partially restored whenever the assassin fells an opponent with a backstab, which is also going to be huge. Assassin is a great tree for a rogue, and we're going to be using the hell out of that. We do also have the physical talent books, but I am not going to use those yet. I haven't decided what I'd like to do with those, so we're not going to worry about that just now. Anyways, I think that is it for our camp session today, so thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, leave a like and a comment. If you want to support the cause and help improve the channel, there is a tip link in the description below. Otherwise, stay tuned and I'll see you guys soon with more Dragon Age Origins. Have a good day, guys. Take care.